Hey guys, so it's been like 3 months since I last uploaded. My bad. Anyways, past Peppy did a very bad job at explaining things, so present Peppy is gonna do that instead. So in this video, I ranked every single fun run map from worst, which is F tier, to best, which is S tier. All maps were ranked based on a few important aspects of each map. This includes things such as linearity, and I called it variation in the video most of the time for some reason, luck base, which is power-ups, burst and roulette potential, and clan battle compatibility, which is just how a map differs from quick play to clan battle in terms of gameplay. Not each point is talked about in each map, and that's just because they aren't notable enough on the map in question. And another thing I should note, the gameplay recording session turned into an impromptu 1v1 with Sir Giga Chad and channel moderator himself, Aurum, because he invited me to play before I started recording. Each and every race in its unedited entirety will be played behind each map's ranking, so stay tuned to find out who wins. Anyways, that's enough explaining. Enjoy the video. Alright, so let's just get in. Bark Bridge. I'm just gonna say it. I'm just gonna say it right now. Bark Bridge, this is the worst grass map. Bark Bridge, it's horrible. It's very linear. And when it's not linear, going the non-linear direction is usually worse. There's one spot in particular, like I want to say midway through, where you have the choice between a power-up and a speed pad. And if you take the power-up instead of the speed pad, you just lose most of the time. The only thing that can really be applied to is clan battle, because the person that's behind can get that power-up for support. And that's pretty much it. That's the only good part about this. It's better in clan battle just for that reason. There isn't really any route diversity in this map, so F tier immediately. There's no question about it. Worst grass map. Bumpy Burrows. I don't quite know how people are gonna feel about this. I actually kinda like Bumpy Burrows. It's pretty linear, but it feels like there are a lot more options. Like, it actually kind of matters which route you take. Like, I know, for example, there's a spot in this map where you also have the choice between speed pad and power-up, but you can just combine the two and get the power-up anyways. It's still slower, but it feels more rewarding. It's linear, but there's enough diversity in the routing that going the right way and knowing the map is actually more rewarding than it normally would be in, other grass maps. So, despite its linearity, I actually like this map. And I feel like there are some nice burst spots here too. So for that reason, I'm actually gonna put this in B tier. Probably low B tier, but it's B tier. On to Mushroom Ditch. Now this map, I have some things to say about this map. First off, I can't be the only one who's called Mushroom Ditch Mushroom Bitch before. Mushroom Bitch is such a fitting name because I hate this map. I think most people hate this map. It's just not fun. It's not fast. There's immediately a spot in this map where I know when I was a very low league, there'd just be like a buildup of 4 people. There's like 2 of those breakable grounds. Breakable bridges, sorry. Just like right next to each other. And people would always, and I mean always, like build up on the second one because anyone who broke it would get slowed down and would end up falling behind afterwards. I don't even really need to say much more. That alone puts it in a low tier. I would put it like very low D tier. But yeah, low D tier. It's alright, I guess. It's not good. Holey Hills. This is a interesting map. I don't hate it. It has a lot of different path diversity. You can absolutely go for power-ups and still win, but there's also that chance of like, oh, if you're tied with first place and you go for a power-up instead of the speed, if you got like a trap, it's gonna be pretty hard to come back from getting that trap as opposed to just taking the speed and not getting the power up. There isn't too much more that I can say about it. There's enough diversity that makes it good, but also just it feels sluggish at times. It's alright. I'd put it high C tier, but that's also just personal bias. There isn't much diversity in clan battle either, except the few points where you can get that extra power up as opposed to the speed, but it's only in a couple situations on the map. Fungi Valley. This is actually, strangely, my favorite grass map. There's a lot of... This map's notorious just because it has so many secret areas. It's complex. Very, very complex, actually. Like, there's so many different routes that you can take, and some of them will just screw you over. Like, to the point where you just won't be able to win afterwards. I mean, like, it's possible to win, but if you're in, like, second and you go this route, you're probably ending in fourth. So there's definitely... It's got a lot of secrets, and finding out what route works best is really fun. Just testing things, it was always really fun. There's a lot of diversity, there's a bunch of different power-up options. It's just an all-around pretty good map. So this is going high B tier, I'd say. Actually, no, we're gonna go low A tier. Because I actually really like this map. I do. I like Fungi. Fungi is actually pretty good. For a grass map, it's fine. It's alright. It's alright. Okay. Speedy Squares. This map is alright. It's actually, I think it's underrated, actually. Something that I saw a few years ago, when someone else did a tier list for all the maps in the game, they put Speedy really low, and their argument for it was that there's a lot of choke points. While yes, there's a lot of choke points, I feel like there's a lot of route diversity, and the choke points are strictly there from route choices. You could totally avoid the choke points, or at least most of the choke points in this map, just by going a different route, and it wouldn't affect you too bad. Because most of the choke points come from going for a power-up as opposed to speed, or going for a power-up with a little bit of extra speed. So it does make things like clan battle really nifty and competitive like that. So I'm gonna actually put this one in high B tier. Canyonland. Overrated. I don't like this map. I just don't like this map. There's almost no variation in your routing when you're playing Canyonland, ever. There's a very right route, and you stick to it, pretty much. The only variation I can think of is in a single spot where you can, like, ground pound the mushroom and get a power-up as opposed to go for the cannon and get speed. There isn't much variation, very linear, very easy to lose against pretty much anyone. I've lost to bots on this map before. I would put this in low C tier. Actually, I'm gonna put it under Holey Hills. Crazy, I know. But I don't really like the map. It's just it's not good. It's not that good. Tiny Tunnels. I feel like a lot of people don't like this map, but I actually like this map. Although it is very, like, 50-50 on whether or not I play well on this map, and I think that's why people don't like it. It's very easy to mess up. As the name kind of implies, it's very tight. There's a lot of very tight movement in this map, and a lot of choke point. Although there is extreme variation in routing. You could be testing different routes and combinations of different routes until you get first elite star, and you could still be, like, figuring things out and fine-tuning your routing and your movement. And honestly, I'd say that I'm still fine-tuning my movements there. I know the route, but I'm still fine-tuning movements and things like that, because it can be really tight. And burst spots as well are pretty nifty if you know them. I think there's a few burst spots on this map that not a lot of people know. So just for that, honestly, it's alright. High B tier. Turbo tunnels. This is a really good map. This is probably the highest map, I'm just gonna say it. There's a lot of variation. There is a lot of variation in movement here. That also means that there's a lot of room to mess up, but it is extremely rewarding to play this map well. If you play this map perfectly, there's very, very small chance that you lose. The only time that you're gonna lose is if someone fine-tunes their movements even more than you. In the recording that you're seeing, I did really poorly. I messed up an entire segment of this map, and it cost me. Very non-linear, there's a lot of power-uppage, there's just a lot of skill involved. If you don't know the map, you're probably going to do pretty poorly. I'm gonna put this in high A tier. Actually, no. This is going low S tier. You can fight me. Bendy Beams. I think this is a very underrated map. I've noticed that, like, when doing things like clan battle and quick play, people will typically vote against this. There is a very, or at least a somewhat linear route. It's also rewarding to do it right. Like, there are still a lot of tight movements and a lot of spots that can really change the game. There are a lot of spots, like burst spots, for example, that like, the difference between knowing a spot and not knowing a spot will absolutely be the difference in winning or losing. I think the worst part of this map is just the end, because if it's tight, it is just RNG. There isn't much else you can do. I'm gonna put it in high A tier. I'm putting it in high A tier for that, though. I like the map. Steam Caves. Probably gonna get shit for this one. I think Steam Caves is very overrated. I'm just gonna say it. The only reason that I like Steam Caves is because it's pretty much a free win against anyone that does not know this map. Like, as long as you know the route, it's a very linear map. There aren't really any differences in routing or difference in speed versus, like, against routes. It's very luck-based. I will say that. There's only, like, 1 or 2 spots that you could use a burst that would really help you. Honestly, only one that really makes a difference. There aren't really any differences in clan battle either, because all the power-ups that you get, pretty much everyone else is gonna get. It's honestly a better map in quick play. It kind of gives you the illusion of choice, because there aren't many differences. If you go the speed path, you're probably gonna fall behind, but you also have a lot of risk going for the power-ups, because you could just fall behind doing that too. I'm gonna put it low A tier. Lumpy Loops. This one, I think, is pretty agreed upon. It's pretty linear. There's a few choke points, actually a lot of choke points for how linear it is, and there isn't much of a way to come back if you get hit by a choke point. There isn't too much to say about it. There aren't any differences in, like, power-ups that you could get in clan battle. Like, you could mix up the routes, but you'll probably lose. And, like, at the end of the map, there's a very specific spot that, if you don't know, you'll also probably just lose unless you get a burst, and even still, that's risky, and you will still probably lose if you're tied with someone. There's not that much that's good about it. I'm gonna put it in, like, right above Mushroom Ditch. Spike's Point. This was my favorite map for a long time, and it was really just because of the burst spots. Even now, the burst spots are really good. Now burst doesn't interact with speed pads, which suck. The difference in routing is crazy. Like, there's actually meaningful choices here. You can go for a power-up that will either make or break every single game. There isn't too much luck, though the burst spots that exist still can just basically win you the game. It's a really fun, a really fast map with a lot of really precise movements. Even if you lose, you're still having fun usually, even if you're losing on this map. It's an S tier map, easily. Alright, I'm gonna be honest. In the video, I had almost no idea what map I was talking about, so let me run you through it. Beach Part B is a map that's, pretty linear, but it does have some, branching paths. It's pretty normal. It's got some burst spots, but they're not really anything serious. Overall, it's just kind of a very run-of-the-mill map. There's a few serious decisions that you can make while playing, but, usually it won't affect the game too much. You can go the wrong path and still win, even against someone that knows what they're doing. So yeah, it's alright. It's an alright map. It's like B tier, I think. That sounds about right. Sharkfin Isle. This map, I have to say, is very mid. I don't want to use that term, but I feel like I have to. It's a very mid map. There's a lot of choke points, and I mean a lot of choke points. There's a definitive route for the start, but the chance of you getting it is like 50%. Like, if you get hit by that choke point, you're falling behind unless you get really lucky. It's fun as long as you're winning. There's a pretty good variation in the map in routing. There's a few spots that, like, if you know what someone else doesn't know, you'll absolutely have the upper hand and you'll probably win. It doesn't have much going for it. Just the start puts a bad taste in my mouth. I'm gonna put it just above Canyonland. Okay, Starfish Caves. This one, it's alright. It's got enough variation that it doesn't become monotonous or repetitive. It's definitely luck-based. There's a lot of choke points, and, like, especially if you don't get a certain route, you'll probably lose. If you get hit by 2 choke points, you probably get second even against, like, just an even slightly competent player. It's not horrible. It's very straightforward, usually. Like, I know a spot at the end. If you're neck and neck with someone, there's no way to get ahead. You'll just lose if you don't get a good power-up. Like, if the person that you're tied with gets a burst and you got, like, a trap, you're just screwed. There's nothing you can do. I think I'll put it in low C tier. Rocky Shores. It's strange that we're actually ending on a high note with these maps, because most of them aren't really that good. But Rocky Shores is a really, really good map. There's a lot of variation in the routing. There's a stupid amount of power-ups. It's a very skill and luck-based map. It's a, like, perfect blend of the two. And there aren't too many choke points. Even if you get taken off your path, the other path is usually just as fast. So there's a lot of variation, a lot of power-ups. It's just fun. It's just chaotic and fast and fun. Honestly, I'm gonna put this right behind Spike's Point. This is an S tier. Easily. Very good map. Ranch Run. I hate to start bar maps on a bad note, but Ranch Run is not a good map. It is extremely linear, and even when it's not linear, going the non-linear path will usually lead to you losing. It's very, very easy to lose on this map. Unless you get lucky, you aren't winning this map. You're probably going to lose. I'm gonna put this in a low D tier. Rolling Range. This is a good map. This is actually a really good map. This map is fun. It's got a lot of really neat burst spots. It's like somewhat linear, or at least a few different routes that you can take, or variations in your path that you can make depending on the situation. It's got a spot at the end. There's a bunch of different power-ups and a bunch of different routes that you can take. Really, that spot is just like, oh, you have 3 chances to get a burst or you're probably gonna lose. It's alright. Like, I have fun playing the map, but ultimately, it's not that good of a map. If we're really thinking about it, low B tier. I'm gonna put it just above Bumpy Burrows. Soaring Steps. This is probably the best map that Farmland has to offer. It's not linear. There's a lot of different route paths. Even the, like, normal path that you should be taking, it's got gimmicks that the normal player normally wouldn't know. There's a cool little spot where you, like, jump up a couple times, get a power-up, and then slam. It basically just combines the power-up route with the speed route. Like, there's just no better option. The burst spots, too, are also really fun. The only part that I would say is even slightly not good would be the end, and that's just because it can be very luck-based if you're neck and neck with someone. Aside from that, it's a really good map. I'm putting it right above Bendy Beams. It's really good. So, here's one of the worst maps in the game. Hey Hustle, it is the worst addition that they have made to this game. This map sucks. It is so linear. There's almost no way to make this map clean or fun to play. It is so luck-based, it is stupid. If you don't get any speed during this map, you just lose. You can die 3 times on this map before you just can't get first anymore. There's nothing that you can do about it. And they absorb a couple hits, and you die to a couple hits, and they get speed afterwards. You're never catching up to them. Low F tier. Fuck this map. Glassy Glacier is a really good map. There's a lot of paths, I've noticed. People like to take a bunch of different paths, and none of them are necessarily wrong. There's also a lot of different variations depending on, like, the power-ups that you get. Like, if you get a burst, you're probably gonna go the speed path for a little bit and skip a couple, like, maybe one power-up for the payoff of going faster than everybody else, as long as you don't die when you use that burst. I know that the gameplay that you're seeing right now, I got absolutely thrashed on, but let me tell you, this map is usually really clean. If you've ever gotten a fast game with this map, you know what I mean. It is just a fun map. I'm gonna put it right above Turbo Tunnels. S tier map. Cannons and Chill is another really good map. It's got extreme variation, and though there's obviously the fastest routes, the other routes aren't necessarily invalid. There's a spot where there's a couple cannons, and there are power-ups above the cannons, but you can also, like, if you have a burst, you could burst into the power-up, basically getting both the speed of the cannon and also getting the extra power up at the same time. But there's also some choke points because of the ice. Like, if you put a bounce trap down in a certain spot, you can, like, really push someone back. If you just play really smart, typically, you won't have a problem in this map. I'm gonna put this one in high A tier. I wouldn't put it in S tier, because the choke points make it not as good. Slippery Slopes is another one of the worst maps in the game. If you like this map, what is wrong with you? Maybe if you're a low league, you haven't quite opened your eyes to why this is a bad map. The amount of luck-based this is kind of stupid. If you miss a certain spot, like midway through this map, you can go the top route and get a couple extra power-ups if you're smart. Or you can go the bottom path. That gives you so much speed. The only way to counter that is to get a burst followed by like a roulette or another burst. That alone, that is the biggest choke point I want to say in this entire game. There's almost no coming back from that. And if you do, consider yourself lucky, go out and buy yourself a lottery ticket because you just got the luck, you just got the best luck ever. An easy F tier. Frozen Falls. This is an interesting map. There's a lot of variation, especially at the start. There are a lot of different power-ups that like a new player probably wouldn't think to go for or try for and keep your speed. Pretty much all this map is seeing how long you can hold your momentum for. Messing up against a player that knows what they're doing can either spell the end for you or open an opportunity to come back from it. Like, you can split off to get some extra power-ups. It's very high risk for not a lot of reward, typically. I'm gonna put it in high C tier. In Quarry, this is... I think it gets more shit than it deserves. It's pretty linear, and there isn't much variation in pathing. There are a couple choke points, but they're nothing huge. You can come back from them. But there absolutely is a correct way to go, and you shouldn't stray from that path, typically, for really any reason. It's fun, and there are a few, like, nice burst spots. I guess that's all it really has going for it. It's very linear, it can be fun, but it's very luck-based. I think on behalf of pretty much anyone that's played this game before, I have to put it in C tier. Rolling Ridge. I don't like this map. It's very linear. It kind of has the same problem as Canyon Quarry, but personally, I think it's worse. It's a lot more luck-based. If you don't get the right power-ups, you just aren't gonna win. And there's nothing you can really do about that. If you're ahead by like the midway point, you're probably winning. With that in mind, I'm just gonna put it in like high D tier, I wanna say. Just above Lumpy Loops. Red Rock Peak. This is a bad map. There's very little variation. There's variation in your routing, but there's a very correct way to go in this map. At the very beginning, the correct way to go is the top path. If you don't make that top path, there's a good chance you're gonna lose just because the lower path is that much slower. I remember not knowing that and wondering why I was always losing on this map. There's also just a lot of choke points. Like, there are two big ones on this map, near the start and near the end. If you get stuck in either choke point, there's a good chance that you just lose because of that. I'm gonna put this one just above Slippery Slopes in F tier. Grand Mesa. This is a pretty good map. Most of the desert maps are pretty bad. This one's actually pretty good. There's a pretty definitive path, but there's a lot of variations in the pathing. But you can just go pretty much any route, and you have a chance of winning if you get lucky enough. Some would say that that's a bad thing, but honestly, I feel like it just helps create more different play styles on this map. I'm gonna put this one just below Speedy Squares in B tier. Havoc Hills. Havoc Hills. I don't know how you say this word properly. This is actually, I want to say this is one of the better space maps. It has a lot of variation in its routing, so that's an immediate plus. And it's got a lot of actually pretty nice burst spots. It's pretty minimally luck-based, and though it can be very based on luck, your movement will typically overshadow that. I'm gonna put it in low B tier, just above Bumpy Burrows. Dimension Dash. This is my favorite space map. It's pretty linear. It's the same as Frozen Falls in the way that you should focus on sustaining a lot of speed and making your movement as clean as possible. I feel like it does it better than Frozen Falls, honestly. It gives a lot of opportunity for comebacks and a lot of opportunity for very clean movement and very satisfying movement. If you play this map right, there's a good chance that you won't win. It's a pretty long map, but it's very smooth if you get a clean run. If you get a clean run, it's just one of the best feelings, honestly, and that's undeniable. I feel like I'm gonna piss someone off. I'm gonna put it high B tier, just above Grand Mesa. Crystal Caves. This is my least favorite space map. I have seen it really cleanly played before. Aurum actually knows this map really well. There's a lot of spots though that are very gimmicky and not nice to play. It just feels sluggish a lot of the time when you play this map. There's some clean spots, and that's, you know, again, it's undeniable, but most of the time when you're playing on this map, you're gonna be sluggishly running around and hoping that you pick the right path. And even if you do pick the right paths, your speed sometimes determines where you're put in portals. Pretty much anyone can win. For that, I'm actually just gonna put it in low C tier above Starfish Caves. That I think I'm putting that a little higher than I should. Vortex Valley. We're gonna end on a positive note, actually. I like this map. I feel like there's a lot of schmovement options. I know I'm using that word. There's a lot of power-ups, which can absolutely lead to varying routes. There isn't too much variation in different routes. When you have a burst and you take a different route, typically it pays off a lot better. And there's one spot in particular near the end of the map it's a very niche burst spot, and it's extremely good. I wish I got the chance to show it off in the gameplay, but I just didn't. It's very hard to pull off, but it's also extremely consistent to pull off. That one burst spot alone, I feel like puts it higher on the list, honestly. I'm gonna put it just above Grand Mesa, but just below Dimension Dash. So yeah, that's that. Here's the full completed tier list for you. Before I end the video, I'd like to just say thank you for getting this far. The support means a lot to me, and this video took up literally days of my life, so if you could just check if you're subscribed, it'd mean a lot. I'd like to get to 1K by the end of the year, but that's also kind of pushing it. Feel free to argue anything in the comments, just, you know, keep it civil, don't start fights, you know, be a good human being to each other, please. Any negativity will get censored. Anyways, thank you all again for watching. I have a lot more planned for this year, so stay tuned, and I hope you have a good rest of your day. Bye bye.